Hello, folks. Welcome to this edition of Al's Joint. I'll be joined by my co-host Dennis Painter as we discuss the House and the Senate finally voting to release the Epstein files. And I know that pedophile that occupies the presidency is going to lose his freaking mind. So as we pay homage to America and Tin Man, let's take the gloves off and let's get at it. Well, Brother Painter, here we are again, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about this week. This has been an exciting week for the rule of law, for democracy, and for the country.
I agree. And I want to say this to the women, the victims that stood up, that it took a lot of courage for them. And I'm talking about the Epstein file issue. It took a lot of courage for them to step forward because they knew they were facing obstacles and powerful people, and it was going to be a difficult climb. And I want to congratulate them, and also want to congratulate the people that participated in the No Kings rally marches, showing the country can stand together on moral issues. And I want to thank all the people that's on Facebook and podcasts like this one that have the foresight to say, look, this is a moral issue. This is not a political issue. So I wanted to say thanks to all those people for standing up. Their voices mattered.
Well put. So we have those women, those victims, stand up and push back and demand that the Epstein bill be passed. And they were successful. Congress voted no, it wasn't unanimous because they had one person, one of the reps from Louisiana, who had some lame excuse on why he didn't vote. But other than that, every other member of Congress voted to release the files. And I believe that a lot of the Republicans are part of a longer plan, and they didn't just do it because they were doing the right thing. Speaker Johnson, a lot of other congressmen, I think they're hoping that when Trump has his Department of Justice file charges or launch an investigation against Bill Clinton and some of the other folks he claimed he would, that's going to be their way around releasing a lot of the files. But for now, the Congress has voted to release it. Senate voted unanimously to release them. It's going to Trump's desk. I believe he's going to play games. Even if he signs it, he's going to play games because they figured out a plan ahead of time once they knew they were going to lose.
I want to recap what's happened. Let's look at this. When you talk about Trump playing games, he campaigned on, I'm going to have the Epstein files released, and his supporters rallied around that. And then he got elected and said, hey, nothing. He didn't say anything about the Epstein files. And then when he started getting pushed on the Epstein files and paying bond, he said, well, they're on my desk. His name's in the files. Because after that, there were no files. Then Trump told supporters when they kept pushing, said, I don't need your vote anymore, so I don't care. And then he later claimed there's no Epstein files. What are you talking about? And then Kash Patel, director of FBI, said, oh, we've looked through it and there's no illegal conduct and that there's no human sex trafficking charges going to be forthcoming. And all the while, these women are standing out saying, look, we were sexually abused as children. Okay. So to your point of plan B for Trump, I agree with you. There's a plan B that they've already put in place in case they had to take this step. And I believe that the Department of Justice is going to be a part of that. And they're going to try to block, and they're going to do it in the name of protecting the victims, but they're going to block or redact Trump's name out of it. Now, Mike Johnson tried to get the Senate to put some stronger language in there to, quote, protect the victims. Well, guess who's been saying they're the victim all along? And that's Donald Trump. So Mike Johnson was trying then to get language that would protect Donald Trump.
Here's something that's angering me. That some of these news outlets, they're still afraid of Trump because they're pussyfooting around, they're dancing around the subject. They're saying, oh, he's protecting billionaires' friends, these banks, right? Now, that's bullshit. He's a pedophile. He's in there being a pedophile. I believe that Melania is in there as well. You're going to be shocked how many folks are in there. We've talked about before. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, or independent. If they're in there, they got to pay. And I don't want to hear none of this. You're protecting some businessman whose name was mentioned. No, the Department of Justice done their homework back then, right? Not that they finished the job, but they know who's who. They know if this person was only mentioned in the sense that he's doing business, that's what it says. People act like somebody, he got in there and he said, person A, person B committed this crime and he lied on them. No, that's not the case. So if you're in there, it's going to tell what you did and how you participated. And Donald Trump is a pedophile and he's in the Epstein file and he's going to make sure he does everything he can not to let those files come out. I don't even think he want them redacted, except the stuff they'll get, I believe, is going to be stuff that they've already had.
And I think there's, powerful people in play here. And I think that we as Americans have excused some illegal conduct over the years based off of what party was doing the conduct. And I think it's time for us as Americans not to excuse illegal conduct by any party, whether it's our party or the other party, because it only creates the path for more illegal conduct. And I think the marches of No Kings Day marches and this whole effort to get the Epstein files public is an effort by the public, the voters, to say this is a moral issue, right is right, wrong is wrong. We need to stay on that path, next year, 10 years from now. We need to stay on that path because we have been enablers to allow politicians to break the law. And it's up to us to put a stop to it. Don't promise me something on one hand and then be breaking the law in the other. I don't want you in office.
No, I agree 100%. And I want folks to understand this fight. We won a couple battles. We have a long
Yep.
way to go to win this war. And we
Yep.
need to keep putting boots on the ground. We need to keep fighting them legally, keep fighting them at the voting booth, right? We have to continue to push because they're going to push back because they have more to lose than we do,
Yep.
right? We're
That's
talking
right.
about billionaires who can lose billions of dollars. They're going to do whatever they have to do. But I do see, and this is something that I probably didn't agree with earlier on, but you said we're starting to fight back. I do see the courts are finally starting to hold up their end of the bargain and recognizing they're a separate branch of the government. I see that some of the reporters are starting to push back at these press conferences and ask real questions, and it's putting him on the defense. So I do see the country starting to fight back. The key is what happens when, we're throwing a couple punches now. What happens when they retaliate? They have a lot of money and a lot of influence, and they're going to retaliate.
Well, I think that this is a good lesson for all of us to say, yes, okay, we have taken a step forward in trying to achieve justice. But the fight is never over. It never has been. Okay. We've always had to fight for justice. So we need to understand that, yes, this is a victory. And it's not a small victory, it's a substantial victory. But the war itself for justice will continue. We're still going to have to fight Trump and his pedophile friends to get the truth out there. We're still going to have to fight the court system to make sure that they enforce the law and prosecute these people. Okay. We should be satisfied with where we are to one degree, but not satisfied to the point where we stop putting boots on the ground. We got to keep doing that. We got to keep our voices out there.
They may be some of the stupidest leaders that we've had. They'll show their hand and then get mad when people call them on what they
Yeah.
did. They'll say, hey, I didn't mean to say that, or that's not what you took me out of context. He actually said that he's going to file charges against these folks. Right? And now, all this time, you wait until a couple of days before you're going to release the files to decide you're going to file charges against anybody. To me, the Congress should at this point say everybody who we know is listed in the Epstein file that we can prove, we need to launch charges against them as well.
Yes, you said it. They know who they are. They've had those names. There's over 1,000 victims that they're aware of, and 20 or so names of very prominent people. They're political people. They're people in the entertainment world. They're people in other countries, and they're very rich people. And they've had that information. We just got to keep pushing to get that piece of it out there and not let up. I got a thing I call the Pedophile Protection Club. I did ranking members. President Trump is being the president of the Pedophile Protection Club, and J.D. Vance being the vice president of the Pedophile uh, Protection Club, and then Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, which I think is an absolute crook, House Majority Mike Johnson. They're all in my opinion, in that pedophile protection club. And every elected official, and I'm saying official, not leader, every elected official, whether it be on the state level or on the national level, that has stood in the way of these women getting justice belong in that club. And then if the Department of Justice does what you said they're going to do, and what I believe is they're going to do is try to delay the release of the Epstein files, and they can keep delaying it till the end of Trump's term. They belong in that club too, and we just have to keep pushing them and demanding that justice be done quick and swiftly.
Well, Trump is not just the president; he's a participant.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to me, we need to make sure that people quit dancing around the truth and try to insinuate that he's protecting somebody else. No, he's protecting himself. The president of the United States is a pedophile. People should know, if they do your own research, there has been women who've spoken out, who are in the files, who said, look, this case isn't going anywhere. They named Trump specifically. There's one woman in the file that says she went to Epstein's office in the evening. She thought she was going for a work-related issue. She got alarmed when it was a dark office. And the person who came in that met Epstein was Donald Trump. And that woman said he looked at her and he said, she doesn't look 14. And Epstein responded, no, she's 16. And took Donald Trump into the back room. She doesn't know what happened back there, so you can only speculate. But it makes no sense for people to give the impression that he's hiding other folks. He's hiding himself. He's never protected anybody in his life. Why would he do it now? He's only
Right.
worried about saving his own ass. They're going to find out, I believe, that he met his wife was given to him by Epstein. I believe she was on Epstein's island. Whether she was a victim or not, we won't know, but we do know that references in the Epstein file that Epstein gave some billionaires a wife.
Well, from articles I read, now obviously I wasn't on Epstein's plane. Okay. On Epstein's plane, allegedly, Trump and Melania had sex for the first time. Okay. So they are in the Mile High Club. So that's what I read. So Melania being part of the Epstein circle is probable. And I think the other piece of this is, and you was talking about that young lady getting there that late at night. Trump says, "Oh, he was mad at Epstein and severed his ties with him," and that's after denying being friends with him over and over again, because he took two of his young ladies from Mar-a-Lago. Now, they were underage girls. Epstein didn't take his hired help. He took Trump's sex objects.
Boy,
That's what he took.
they talked about the women like they were property.
Right.
It's like, not, hey, he stole my woman from me. I was in love with her. No, he stole one of my girls. Who the hell speaks like that?
Yeah.
Here's something else I need folks to think about, and I need them to do their research. He said earlier that he was never with Epstein, was always the Democrats, and that he's the one that reported him. He distances himself from him because he thought he was a pervert, right? So the question people should ask is, when did you think he was a pervert? What led you to that? I mean, two things could have happened. You either seen something, and the next question is that you reported. Because if you didn't see anything or you didn't hear anything, you would have no evidence or proof that he was a pervert. You had to have seen something, and at that point, it was your obligation to report it. Now, if you reported it, then there's only two things going to happen. They're either going to let you go or they're going to say, look, you need to go back as a snitch and get more information. And if that's the case, that means that there's documentation. So when he says, I cut him free because I thought he was weird or a pervert, then the next question should be, well, how did that come to be?
Well, I agree with that too. And when you say if he did see something, he's probably doing the same thing Epstein was doing, So that's why one reason why it wasn't reported. Now, talking about Epstein, and you firmly believe that Melania was part of Epstein's circle, and you've said that many times, and I don't disagree. But I think that Trump had Epstein killed. I don't think it was a suicide. I think he had him killed. I have a friend of my son who was in law enforcement for his entire career in federal law enforcement. And he looked at the stuff and he told me directly to my face, he said, Epstein didn't kill himself. That was not suicide. He said he'd seen too much. So I believe that Trump had Epstein killed. Now, there's emails out now that Epstein said that he could sink Trump's political career. He could do that. Or, and the response was, well, just be quiet and let him hang himself. And I think the fear that Trump had is at some point the truth was going to come out. He had to quiet Epstein down, and the only way really to do that was to have him erased from this earth.
I've always believed that he was killed. I don't know if Trump, even as a president, is as powerful as the other folks that were implicated. So as a group, I believe that they had to have him killed. Plus, Trump is too stupid. He would have wrote it down somewhere and sent somebody a card saying goodbye. He's not smart enough to pull that, not even with the folks that are around him.
Yeah,
But I do
here's
believe
step
he,
one. Here's step
right,
one. Unlock the unlock the jail
unlocking
door.
cell door, right, and send me a picture. Now here's the scary part for Ghislaine Maxwell. With all this that came to light, it was already going to be difficult to pardon her. Now it makes it twice, almost maybe even quadruple the possibility that a pardon would just go take people to a nuclear level, right? They have to figure out, we've promised, we moved her to this country club. And with all this information that's coming out, we know for a fact that her name's in there and it can't be redacted because you can't redact the name of the person you're charging. So what does she do? Now that she was this close to being let go and pardoned, because Trump at some point was gonna say, it was a witch hunt. We let her out. She hadn't had anything to do with it. He doesn't care about anything. Now the Congress and the Senate is involved. They would have to bite the bullet too.
Yeah.
They can't just say it
Well,
was Trump because they know now.
and you talk about the more powerful people behind the killing of Epstein. That's what I believe is going to happen with Maxwell as well. I mean, they can't afford it because once these files are made public, she can testify. She can be subpoenaed to testify because her name's in there, and she's either going to say I'm lying or I'm not lying. And the powerful people can't take that chance. They need to sleep at
Great.
night. And I don't think murder is the solution to this issue. But I believe that's the solution that Trump and the powerful people are going to look at. And her life
Okay.
is now is less security in this low security prison.
I
Uh,
agree. Somebody's
so
going to say they were jealous and they lost their mind and and they killed her. It's going to happen. I don't see any other way around that. And you know
No.
what? I'm calling me cold. I don't give a damn
What?
what happens to her. Just like she didn't give a damn what happens to those thousands of innocent young girls that she ruined their lives. Some of them led to suicide. And even on some of those, I don't believe it was suicide. But that's a story for a different podcast. But so she has to, whatever happens to her, she made her own bed.
Well,
She
I do care in the sense that I don't want anything to happen to her before she testifies in court. Okay. After that, she made her own bed.
she made her
Okay.
own bed.
I'm not wishing ill on anyone, but I am wishing justice for all the victims that she helped abuse.
I just want to say something to the American people, the far right folks. You've sold your soul and your morals. And you can never argue whatever you say from this point on. If you're a far right wing conservative, nobody's going to care anymore. You lost all credibility. You lowered your morals so low that whatever you say, people are going to look at you and be like, you voted for and protected a pedophile and a rapist. We understood that you said, okay, we gave up our morals when we knew he was a whoremonger and his next wife was always his mistress first, right? Then when he ran out of wives, he had a porn star. Um, we understood that you took the low road morally, but criminally, when you found out that he was a pedophile and a rapist, you turned a blind eye. And then you continued after that to justify it. There was a
And,
woman on Fox News that you see. I'm sorry that I forget her name. One of the commentators, who a well-known commentator, was on Fox News justifying what happened to these girls.
This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10, I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old, you know?
I caught that clip and I was like, wait a minute, this has to be AI. I actually thought that they had created, a little AI news clip and put it out there. And then I did the research and seen that she actually said that. The one thing she said was, so if you get a man on an island with a 14-year-old girl over after a while, what do you think is going to happen?
I didn't see
maybe
that.
you would look for somebody your own age and leave the
Yeah.
14-year-old or the 12-year-old alone.
I didn't see that, but what I did see was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt trying to justify men having sex with underage girls. And what she said was, well, they actually looked older than they really were. And it's not like they were 8 years old. I mean, she was just trying to justify it. Even though they were 14, they looked older. So, and that was trying to make excuses. And that's what we're going to see.
Yes.
We're going to see excuses coming out of the woodwork.
You
And there's
can't deny
no
the fact, so you got to have excuses.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
And then there's going to be what Trump has always done is he's going to try to divert attention. And he said that on the interview is that he said, I don't want this to take away from all the good we're doing, all the bombing we're doing, killing people to prevent drugs coming into this country. Never mind that we're not going after the drug dealers in this country. We're just killing people out in open waters. And the good that we've done for the economy, even though the economy is tanked, and the good that the tariffs have done, even though the tariffs have damaged our economy and the tariffs have damaged our relationship with our allies. So that's going to be part of the diversion. Now, what else he's going to come out with, of course, is going to be, and I believe this, there's people in the Democratic Party that's going to be in those files. And he's going to try to concentrate on that and redirect people's attention away from that. And that's why I say, look, folks, let's set this aside. We're responsible. I don't care if it's a Democrat, Republican, socialist, populist, king, prince. I don't care. You know, morals or morals. The law is the law. Let's do it under that. Now, Trump said it's just a political hoax. He created the political hoax when he campaigned saying, I'm going to make the files available. So now it's coming back to haunt him. So now he's trying to put that on someone else. He doesn't take the blame for what he's created, which is responsibility for releasing those files.
To piggyback off what you're saying, how big of a narcissist do you have to be when you campaign on preventing the crime that you participated in? He's such a narcissist, and either that or he thinks that his voters are that stupid.
Smart people don't like me.
And it probably could be a little bit of both. But he actually campaigned on a crime, resolving a crime that he participated in.
I think it's a little bit of both, Al. I think he justifies it because he's got the money. I'm rich. I can do what I want. He was caught on tape saying I can grab women and do whatever I want. You know, he owned beauty pageants, and he'd walk in on naked underage girls while they were dressing. He just thought that was his right because he was rich. And he didn't see anything wrong with it. He justified it. I'm rich. I own the pageant. You know, I have a right to go in and make sure that everything's okay. They had 28 women accuse him of some level of sexual abuse before he became president the first time. I don't care who you are as a country, our moral standards need to be elevated. As voters, we have that ability. This whole situation with them now making the Epstein files available through pressure of the victims and through pressure of podcasts and through pressure of the No King's Day marches, it proves that we can make a difference. But we got to keep on going. And that difference has to include that whoever runs for whatever office, you have to have a moral standard that is acceptable under the law and a moral standard that's above the law.
Agreed. Now, folks better be aware that he will start a war, which will be the ultimate diversion. And I think that's what he has left on his plate. He's getting desperate. He doesn't care. He's bombing these little boats. And who declares war on another country where they're saying you're bringing drugs out of that country? That's the case. You got to bomb half the damn planet.
Well, he's not saying anything to Mexico. Now, Mexico has said, we don't want your help. And he said, okay. All right. But he's forcing his way into these smaller countries, okay, and bombing them. Now, which one is he going to go after? Nigeria? Is it, and he's going to go after them? Or is he going to go after Venezuela? Or is he going to go after Brazil because the leader in Brazil was overthrown? The dictator was overthrown. And he didn't like that.
He needs to start a war somewhere. So
yeah,
it's going to happen, unfortunately. And the other thing I want to tell Democrats is quit listening to these damn independents. Do your own research. Quit listening to these talking heads who are just telling you their opinion is the only thing that matters. I heard a person talking the other day, and they're on some of the bigger shows saying, well, the Democrats got to come up with a message and a way. First of all, and I've said this from the beginning, I don't believe Trump won the election. I believe that Elon Musk went into the battleground states and did what he had to do to make sure those battleground states swung in Trump's favor. Other than the battleground states where Harris was up in all of them. And if you think that all the battleground states all of a sudden just happened to swing in one direction, the last 2 days, it makes no sense. So I don't believe he won the election. I believe that the Democrats, they're not stuck on Epstein, but they have an obligation to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. They have to deal with the Epstein stuff, but we also had a plan. We had a plan for health care. We had a plan for housing, and it was out there. The Republicans didn't have any plan. There was no plan. The only thing they were doing was saying, kill Obamacare. Social Security, it should be privatized. We end up being our own worst enemy because the right will stick to they don't care if he tells them, I'm going to come in office, I'm going to take everything you have of what you have away from you, but you'll be winners because we won the election. They'll follow him blindly. Not us. We start trying to pick apart our own party.
Have you heard the latest on the Obamacare? He's saying he wants to make it more affordable and take the money and send it directly back to the families and let them pick their own health care. Well, that's for the industry. That's not for the family. You know what's going to happen, with that.
They're going to jack the prices up. You're not going to be able to, the money he sent you won't be able to get you a damn thing.
Right. And that's like these alternative plans to Medicare Part B, A and B. Okay. They're saying, oh, it's better than Medicare. Can't be because you got to make a profit, number one. So that means cutting services. All right. And people don't realize that. But they see the advertisement how much better if you would just go with a private insurance. Not so. But they're out to undermine Medicare as well, along with Social Security. And they've been trying to get into Social Security for decades. And then first they started with President Johnson borrowing money from Social Security to fund the Vietnam War. So, so they've been trying to get their hands on Social Security money for decades. And that's both parties. Both parties have been doing it. And that's where I think that America, the people, should set an agenda themselves in some way. We have to have some framework. We set our own agenda. And you know this, being in the union, we set an agenda. These are the things that we would like to see. These are the things that we need. And anything else we get after that is just icing. But we set an agenda. We have to have these things. We have to have Social Security that is secure, in place, and keep up with inflation. We need Medicare and Medicaid that will take care of people. We need health care that will take care of people throughout their lives. We need these things. We set an agenda and we say, this is what you're going to run on or you're not going to run.
If you think about it, that's piggybacking off what you're saying, that between the both of us, we probably bargained over 600 contracts in our career. So a lot of damn contracts covered folks from anywhere from a 13-person cable company in Ohio to a 1,000-person Ohio Turnpike group of folks, right? And the trend has been now for these employers to say, hey, we're going to go self-insured because the middleman is actually driving our costs up 10 to 20% easy. And that's the same equation you would use with Medicare and Medicaid.
Right.
If you just took Medicare and Medicaid and tell them like Obamacare was trying to do and Biden was trying to do with the prescription drugs, that big body can control the cost much better than all these fragmented pieces. And that's what the industry is afraid of. That's why they want Obamacare gone. They want all that stuff gone so they're able to flood the market. They don't care if you live or die. Only thing they care about is how much money they can make while you're sick.
Right. I agree. Those self-insured plans, you and I both dealt with them. And this is true about all insurances. It's where they come and they sit at the table and say, oh, we got to raise rates because there's been more claims. Okay. This year, and they'll lay out a year or two of claims. But then there's years that the claims are less, but the insurance never goes down. It always goes up. So it's their way of controlling their profitability. It's draining the working class of more money. And that's what, Trump's plan is going to be. It's going to be to feed the healthcare industry and the drug pharmaceutical industry more money and drain the American public of their funds, of their income.
So my brother, it looks like we've come to the end of another episode. I want to piggyback again off of what you said and thank those women for standing up and having a guts to fight back against a system that would have just shoved them under the rug and act like what happened to them never took place.
I want to end it with this, Al. Ever since I was a kid, took a pledge to allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that's what we should be fighting for.
So that brings us to the end of another episode, folks. Don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe, and leave your comments below. I want to know what you're thinking. Unless you're a far right-wing MAGA nut, and I don't give a damn what you're thinking. Also, don't forget to sign the petition that's attached to the podcast, urging your state representative to withhold federal tax dollars until this government does what they're supposed to do and what they're required to do constitutionally for your state. So until I see you again next week, peace.
Please be a part of protecting our Constitution. Take a stand and sign the petition now through the link in our description.